Ladies and gentlemen, happy July 4th to everybody. Big day today. Federal judge sided with Trump, preventing social media companies from silencing any discussion of the classified data trial, which is a complete farce. We'll get to that in a second, but you can't, if you're a social media company, do what happened 2 years ago. You can't prevent discussion of Hunter's laptop, for example. You can't engage in banning or censoring speech and dialogue and discourse about corruption or criminality within Hunter's laptop, within a politically motivated indictment in New York, and also from the special counsel in Florida. So that's good. The side that tries to suppress information the most is the Democratic Party. We saw that. They wanted a Ministry of Information to prevent information that misinforms. Completely subjective term. It's become a euphemism now. Anything they disagree with is information that misinforms. They never say false information. But aside from that, the federal judge and also the judge in Florida has now prevented any attempt at silencing debate, discussion, discourse about exculpatory evidence, about all the ways that the DOJ, Democrats, the special counsel have lied about Trump, and especially the fact that his predecessors did infinitely worse. 22 million emails lost in the Bush administration, private servers siphoning classified data in President Obama's administration. But here, Newsweek, quote, "When Bill Clinton moved into the White House, his lawyers supported the elder Bush in his effort to uphold a side deal he'd cut with the National Archives to allow him to treat his White House emails as personal." That's interesting. So classified emails were now viewed as personal emails because of a side deal with the National Archives. The wonderful National Archives that is pristine and pure as the driven snow, that Trump didn't listen to. Wouldn't it be nice to have a side deal where Trump could put things that he declassified in boxes? At the time, George Stephanopoulos, ABC News, then the White House communications director, defended the resistance, saying his boss, like Bush, didn't want subsequent and potentially unfriendly administrations rooting around in old emails. Gee, that's interesting. Wondering, okay, so they get to form deals with the National Archives, but involving servers, by the way. We'll get to that in a second. But Trump can't declassify documents and put them in boxes. Okay. The Clinton White House eventually settled the suit in the White House. Now Clinton's campaign chairman even invited members of the National Security Archive into the White House to demonstrate how the new system worked. If anyone tried to delete an email, a message would pop up on the screen indicating that doing so would be against the Presidential Records Act. Oh, wow. I'm sure that they would. That struck a fear into the hearts of anyone who deleted emails. We're happy with that, recalls, okay, who edited a book, White House Invasion. White House email, top secret messages that Reagan Bush White House tried to destroy. Okay, so you have Reagan and Bush, but also, even more so, 8 years later in 2003, an official told the National Security Archive that George W. Bush White House was no longer saving its emails. The archive and another watchdog group, Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, okay, so which had Representative Valerie Plame, refiled the original lawsuit. Eventually, they found out that there was an RNC server. Trump had boxes. Clinton had servers siphoning classified data, and the RNC had a server in Bush's Oval Office. Gee, you think maybe that's against the National Archives? You think maybe what they did is infinitely worse than Trump, with boxes that he declassified at Mar-a-Lago that the Federal Bureau of Investigation gave him a thank you letter about, where they knew exactly where the information was? Hit subscribe to this channel right now. Share this segment everywhere. I will put the Newsweek article below. Okay? Read the Newsweek article. Share it everywhere because it sheds light on not just Bush, but Clinton before him and Clinton after him in the Secretary of State's office. So you have server a private server run by the Republican Party, and contempt of Congress citations, all of it. Clinton's email habit looks positively transparent. No, it doesn't, because this is an article. Let's see. The article is written by somebody who, or it's a very good article, but it's written to try to compare what Clinton did, which is actually worse than what let's just put, they're both terrible, but Clinton is probably worse than what George W. Bush did. Honestly, man, this might be a first if you really enjoy my channel or my writing, or if you even know who I am. Maybe Bush's email fiasco was even worse than Clinton's. The George W. Bush White House lost 22 million emails. With the National Archives, by the way, looking the other way or in coordination with the Bush White House. Wouldn't it be nice to see if the National Archives in Congress would testify under oath without pleading the fifth every 2 seconds, or the directors of people who've been there for 20 years or so, 30 years or so? To read my writing on The Hill, The Huffington Post, Salon, The Jerusalem Post, The Federalist, and other publications, go to hagoodman.com. To my new Patreons, thank you. Everyone, $1, $5, $10, $50, whatever. I am just so thankful and honored that anybody would want to support my channel, my work, my writing. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you have George W. Bush White House lost 22 million emails in addition to RNC servers. The Clinton White House had struck a deal with the National Archives. The National Archives with the Bush White House allowed servers and 22 million emails to go missing. Then the National Archives did not find, nor did they even try to find, the communication between President Obama and his Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. 1 billion times worse than anything Trump has ever done. Okay? You're talking about servers. Most troubling, researchers found a suspicious pattern in the White House email system, deleting emails, including periods where no emails were available from the office of Vice President Dick Cheney. Gee, I wonder if Liz Cheney knows anything about this. What are the chances you think that the Bush White House did everything possible to delete emails that were incriminating, including classified emails? As did Clinton, when she deleted 30,000 emails. And so you have Trump with 30 documents that were classified, apparently, that he declassified. The classified data indictment against Trump is even more ludicrous and absurd than the New York indictment against Trump, both of which will be overturned or sent to the Supreme Court eventually, whether it's a conviction or whatever. I think there will be a mistrial in the Florida, but he's going to win. He's not only is Trump never going to spend even a second in jail or prison, but it's going to be a catastrophic, miserable political failure. Democrats, no doubt, don't really care. They're just waiting for democracy to take place a year and a half from now. The problem is, even with all the wonderful democracy that they love, the groundswell, especially in places that they think they'll get, the groundswell against mashed potato brains and the Democratic Party is growing in this country politically. People do not want to live with, let's put it this way, the dislike with Trump was fabricated. The reason people dislike Trump is 98% negative media coverage. It's not because the same liberal Democrats who disowned friends and family were watching The Apprentice. Again, the same liberal Democrats who disown friends and family, won't invite them to weddings or whatever, were watching The Apprentice. They have no problem with Trump. The fact that the media went, Democrats are very influenced by media and by what everyone's saying. A lot of Democratic voters don't really have, let's be kind here. They're not going to leave the herd or have critical thinking skills or tell friends and family, hey, that's not right. They'll look at CNN and MSNBC and the Washington Post and the New York Times and Hollywood. They'll say, well, everyone smart is saying this, so it must be true, and it happens to correlate with what I'm thinking. It's like, well, no, actually, with Trump, we had record low poverty, record highs in household median income, and we had a president like Trump who was bringing home Americans from never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts. It was a moral imperative to vote for this man. it's a moral imperative to vote for him again. But you'd have to be a complete imbecile not to realize that everyone is after Trump and they're indicting him for political purposes. They didn't indict Clinton because of political considerations. Very different. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe.